Actor Chuck Connors died of lung cancer today.
In a general store, though.
Well, Bojack.
Chuck Connors' life brims with paradoxes and unexpected turns, starting with his early years in a humble Brooklyn apartment during the Great Depression. Most remember him as Lucas McCain, the dedicated father and lightning-fast marksman in The Rifleman. Yet, behind that upright Western hero lies a story that stretches far beyond gun-slinging showdowns. Few realize he excelled in 2 major professional sports leagues, courted controversies in Hollywood, and formed a baffling friendship with Soviet Premier Leonid Brezhnev at the height of the Cold War. Everything about his journey defies simple categorization. He didn't set out to become a household name. As a child, Chuck wrestled with cramped living conditions and financial strain. While many people around him gave in to despair, he developed a resilience that guided him for the rest of his days. That determination propelled him into college on athletic scholarships, onto basketball courts, and later into professional baseball diamonds. Along the way, he discovered he also loved entertaining people, especially whenever he could recite poetry or make others laugh. Hollywood found Chuck somewhat by accident when a scout noticed his 6'6" frame and rugged charm. He was simply earning extra money in small roles, not expecting to grab significant screen time. Then, a minor part in a classic Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy film persuaded him that there might be a more lucrative career path outside the dugout. It was a bold pivot, yet Chuck embraced it just as he did every other challenge in his life. The truly surprising moments, however, arose once his face became recognizable. Whether encountering fervent fans who praised him as the epitome of American masculinity or confronting critics wary of his outspoken conservatism, Chuck never backed down. Even fewer anticipated the fascination he would stir in Soviet leadership. This is a tale not just of one man, but of how the unlikeliest events can collide to shape a legend. Long before baseball diamonds and television cameras entered the picture, Chuck Connors' life revolved around sheer survival. Born in 1921 to Irish immigrant parents, he learned that stability meant constant struggle. His father juggled multiple odd jobs, while his mother worked as a domestic servant. The tiny apartment they shared in Brooklyn never felt secure, especially with the threat of job cuts looming everywhere. Despite those hardships, Chuck displayed a magnetic charm that made him stand out among neighborhood kids. He'd play street ball with a kind of ferocity that hinted at bigger dreams. He excelled at sports from an early age, but he wasn't simply relying on natural talent. Friends remember how tirelessly he practiced, using worn-out gloves and makeshift bats. For Chuck, athletics weren't a hobby so much as a ticket out of poverty. He even caught the attention of local mentors who helped him refine his skills, teaching him not just how to throw or swing, but also the importance of discipline and respect. By high school, rumors circulated that he could play almost any game with an edge that set him apart, yet sports only formed part of his identity. An unexpected passion for literature emerged when Chuck won a recitation contest at school. Teachers noticed he had a knack for holding an audience's attention, whether reciting Shakespeare or light-hearted comedies. It seemed a curious blend, an aspiring athlete who also relished performing in front of a crowd. This duality foreshadowed a future where skill, showmanship, and luck would combine to elevate him far beyond Brooklyn's borders. During the Depression, money was scarce, but Chuck managed to secure athletic scholarships that led him to Seton Hall University. Although he didn't complete his degree, he gained the confidence to pursue professional sports. At first, he dreamed only of making it in baseball, but the practical reality of feeding his family kept him open to any possibility that might arise. When the Brooklyn Dodgers finally offered a contract, he saw a glimmer of hope. That glimmer would eventually widen into a path that carried him toward unexpected fame. Baseball was Chuck's first great love, yet fate steered him toward multiple sports. After brief but noteworthy experiences in college, he made a foray into professional basketball, joining the Boston Celtics at a time when the NBA was still finding its footing. Standing at 6'6", he had a natural advantage, but more importantly, he He exuded a competitiveness that coaches admired. That said, the pay was modest, and Chuck needed a more stable income for himself and his family. His baseball aspirations led him to the minor leagues, where he cycled between teams affiliated with the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Chicago Cubs, and even the Yankees. Though he occasionally tasted the big leagues, he never solidified a permanent spot. Critics suggested he might have lacked the batting prowess to become a marquee player. On the other hand, he was widely praised for his defensive skills and leadership qualities. During this period, rumors circulated that he'd nearly ventured into professional football. The Chicago Bears reportedly drafted him, but Chuck never took the field in an NFL game. Whether it was an actual opportunity or simply hearsay, the fact that it was plausible showed just how athletically versatile he was. To juggle multiple sports, however, required a level of focus that could be draining, especially for a man whose heart was split between on-field achievements and more creative pursuits. His chance encounter with Hollywood occurred almost by accident. While playing for the Los Angeles Angels, a minor league team, Chuck caught the eye of a casting agent. At first, he landed small roles, brief appearances where his height and confident demeanor stood out. He didn't immediately see acting as a full-fledged career, but everything changed when he received a paycheck that dwarfed his baseball wages. This unexpected taste of financial security convinced him to gamble on a new path. Despite resistance from fellow athletes who thought he was abandoning his true calling, Chuck decided to walk away from the diamond for good. Transitioning to Hollywood wasn't automatic stardom. Chuck began with bit parts, slowly acquainting himself with film sets and cameras. Yet directors noticed he had an on-screen magnetism that didn't require elaborate dialogue. He could stand in a scene, deliver a line or two, and still command attention. His imposing frame lent itself to roles as soldiers, cowhands, or tough guys. Off-camera, he studied the techniques of more seasoned actors, determined to refine his craft rather than rely on mere presence. His first real break came when he was cast in Pat and Mike, a film starring Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Though his part was minor, the experience opened his eyes to the discipline and artistry of top-tier performers. Rumors suggest that Tracy was impressed by Chuck's work ethic, an echo of his athletic training. Word of mouth in Hollywood traveled swiftly, and soon Chuck found himself fielding more offers. He appeared in a string of roles that capitalized on his all-American look, including a notable part in the Disney classic Old Yeller. Behind the scenes, Chuck wrestled with whether he belonged in this new world. Professional sports had been his reality for so long that film sets sometimes felt surreal. He also faced skepticism from industry veterans who questioned whether an ex-ball player could truly act. Determined to prove them wrong, Chuck sought acting coaches and tackled scripts with the same single-minded fervor he'd once reserved for batting practice. By the mid-1950s, he was considered more than just a sports novelty. His big moment arrived when he learned of a casting call for a Western series. Westerns already saturated television, yet this new project promised something distinctive. The lead character was a widower raising his son on a ranch, with a specialized rifle playing a key role in the storyline. Chuck felt an immediate kinship with the concept. Not only did he identify with a father figure trying to provide stability, but his physicality also seemed perfect for a show emphasizing action and marksmanship. That series would evolve into The Rifleman, changing his life forever. When The Rifleman debuted in 1958, it left audiences wide-eyed. Chuck portrayed Lucas McCain, a man who wielded a modified Winchester rifle with astonishing speed, but whose devotion to his young son brought unexpected warmth to the show's dusty frontier setting. Television viewers were accustomed to gunslingers, yet this father-son angle provided an emotional core that stood out among other westerns. At a time when many series stuck to simple good versus evil plots, The Rifleman ventured into deeper moral questions. Critics soon labeled it among the most violent TV shows of its era, particularly because Lucas never hesitated to protect his son with lethal force. Still, the emotional undertones balanced the rapid-fire action, helping the program soar in ratings. Chuck's performance was pivotal. He imbued Lucas with a tenderness that made viewers root for him, even as he dispatched villains at a rate that unsettled certain censors. Episode after episode, he showed that a rugged defender could also have a caring, principled heart. Some behind-the-scenes gossip claimed that Chuck had more creative input than anyone realized. He allegedly consulted on scripts, offering suggestions to emphasize the bond between Lucas and his son, Mark, played by Johnny Crawford. Their on-screen chemistry became a hallmark of the series. Viewers of all ages latched onto this father-son dynamic, finding it relatable despite the frontier setting. Merchandising deals and fan clubs cropped up rapidly, with Chuck at the center of it all. As the Rifleman surged in popularity, Chuck faced new pressures. Certain religious and political groups found the violence troubling, but Chuck maintained that Lucas was fundamentally honorable. Publicly, he argued that the show taught moral lessons about standing up for one's beliefs. Privately, he wrestled with the notion that he was now the face of a cultural phenomenon. Season after season, ratings remained strong, and Chuck's fame soared. Yet even as he was cementing his status on American television, a foreign power was quietly taking notice of his rugged persona, and that fan would soon upend all expectations. It would have sounded absurd if not for the surreal times. The Rifleman found a fervent admirer in Soviet Premier Leonid Brezhnev. At the height of the Cold War, cultural exchange between the United States and the USSR was minimal, and media from the capitalist West was often off-limits. Yet Brezhnev reportedly became enthralled by the show, insisting it be broadcast in his country. Chuck's rugged portrayal of Lucas McCain, defending his son and property, resonated in a way no one could have predicted. When Brezhnev visited the US in 1973, the two men arranged an unlikely meeting. Chuck, well aware of the tension between the nations, approached the encounter with cautious enthusiasm. He even presented Brezhnev with a pair of Colt revolvers, a gesture that raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. Some American patriots questioned whether it was wise for a staunch conservative like Chuck to cozy up to the head of a rival superpower. Meanwhile, Soviet officials expressed surprise that their leader would take such a keen interest in an American TV star. Yet all reports indicate that Brezhnev was genuinely touched by the gift and seemed thrilled to meet the man who brought the Rifleman to life. Chuck, ever the showman, was polite but straightforward, apparently refusing to engage in any deep political discussion. He saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime event, a chance to shake hands with a global leader who happened to be a fan. Media outlets seized on the moment, running headlines about the Cowboy and the Communist. Rumors swirled about hidden motives, but Chuck maintained it was nothing more than a cordial gesture of goodwill. This wouldn't be their last interaction. Brezhnev invited Chuck to Moscow, and he eventually made the trip, forging a brief but memorable cultural bridge. When Brezhnev died in 1982, Chuck attempted to attend the funeral but ran into bureaucratic hurdles from U.S. authorities. Some claimed that officials didn't want the optics of an American celebrity paying respects to a Soviet leader. This curious friendship endured as a symbol of how pop culture can cross even the most fortified divides, adding yet another chapter to Chuck's extraordinary life. Amid international intrigue, Chuck's personal life was hardly simple. He married 3 times, each union unfolding under media scrutiny. His first wife, whom he married during his minor league days, saw him through lean years but eventually grew apart from the new pressures of fame. They divorced quietly, with few public details emerging about the split. Chuck's second wife was actress Kamala Devi, whom he met on a movie set. Their romance seemed like a Hollywood fantasy at first, but the rigors of shared spotlight and Chuck's fervent political views created friction. Though they attended events together and gave interviews as a united front, persistent rumors hinted at tension off camera. His third marriage to Faith Quabius also began in the public eye. By then, Chuck had grown accustomed to balancing private matters with celebrity demands. He reportedly wanted a calmer home life, yet the strains of work schedules and controversies often spilled over. While none of his marriages ended in highly publicized scandal, The repeated pattern of separation fueled speculation that Chuck's staunch personal convictions and demanding career might have been too heavy a burden for domestic bliss. On the political front, he was unwavering. In an era of widespread protests against the Vietnam War, Chuck supported America's involvement, aligning himself with the most hawkish voices in Washington. He campaigned for Barry Goldwater, marched in favor of Richard Nixon's policies, and later backed Ronald Reagan. This open conservatism sometimes put him at odds with Hollywood peers who leaned left. Certain casting directors reportedly steered clear of him, worried that studio executives or co-stars might find his politics polarizing. Still, Chuck refused to soften his rhetoric. He believed that an actor had the same right to speak his mind as any citizen. Yet he was never one to demean those who disagreed. Even critics acknowledged that behind his forceful stances, Chuck remained courteous and likable. The complexity of these personal and political layers only added depth to his public persona, revealing a man who stood firmly by his principles, whether that meant risking friendships or missing out on certain roles. After The Rifleman ended, Chuck ventured into new projects, hoping to transcend the shadow of Lucas McCain. He starred in the series Branded, where he portrayed a cavalry officer falsely accused of cowardice. Though it tackled weighty themes like honor and redemption, Branded couldn't match the success of The Rifleman. Chuck also took film roles in features like Flipper and Soylent Green, attempting to diversify his portfolio. Yet many viewers still identified him solely as that rapid-firing father figure from North Fork. Typecasting became a persistent hurdle. Hollywood executives often pigeonholed him into westerns or rugged roles, assuming audiences wouldn't accept him in nuanced parts. Chuck, true to his sports-honed grit, persevered. He did guest spots on variety shows and in episodic television, occasionally surprising fans who expected him to remain confined to a single genre. In interviews, he expressed pride in The Rifleman, but admitted that escaping its long shadow would be a challenge. Meanwhile, he never abandoned his conservative activism. He attended political rallies, gave speeches at fundraisers, and even hosted events where he mingled with prominent Republican figures. His stance sometimes led to tense encounters with industry colleagues who preferred to keep politics off the set. But Chuck believed his popularity granted him a platform, and he used it unapologetically. As the years passed, his health waned, but his public appearances remained gracious. Fans of all ages still lined up for autographs, and Chuck seemed happy to indulge them. He never lost the warmth that endeared him to audiences in the first place, even as time and typecasting took a toll on his career prospects. In the end, Chuck Connors exemplified a spirit of fearless authenticity. He transcended poverty through sports, then advanced to Hollywood stardom, defying all odds in the process. Whether as Lucas McCain, forging an unbreakable bond with his on-screen son, or as a friend to Leonid Brezhnev, he inhabited spaces few others could. His outspoken conservative ideals drew both admiration and ire, yet he stood resolute, embodying the steadfast values he believed in. When he died in 1992, exactly 10 years after Brezhnev's passing, the coincidences and ironies in his life crystallized. Here was a man who embraced contradictions and emerged stronger for them. Today, The Rifleman endures as a beloved classic, and new generations discover the compelling father figure Chuck crafted. His legacy reminds us that genuine drive, anchored by unwavering principles, leads to alliances and accomplishments that defy every normal expectation. He proved that even cultural barriers often crumble under sincerity and conviction. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.